Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for today's broadcast, Insanely 13, as we are preparing to get underway for Race 3 of X-League's GT3 Pro Series here at Sebring. Last night, the Porsche Cup rocked out with a small field and absolutely blew everyone's doors off with an absolutely wacky event pretty much from start to finish. Now, with a much larger field, what can the big boys in the GT3 Pro category make? And speaking of big boys, we will have a co-commentator today. Joining us for the night is going to be Sweet Cheeks. Sweet Cheeks, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me here. I'm super excited to get underway with this beautiful racing league. I've seen a lot of drivers turn out here for Forza. I'm ready to watch these GT3 cars go around this beautiful Sebring track.
All right, Sweet Cheeks, you've had some affiliation, some history with the Forza Motorsport game and with X-League before. Real quickly, you would like to run us down and explain to us why we should listen to you. Don't listen to me. I'm just a maniac yapping my trap. Why should we listen to you tonight?
Indeed. I've had plenty of experience in the commentary area, not just Forza, but also F1, ACC, a set of Corsa, iRacing, Le Mans Ultimate, and some even Roblox stuff. I also have some IRL experience with karting, as well as traveling almost around the entire America racing karting, as well as I've done some football games. Not like that matters in the racing area, but interesting in all west. But my experience throughout the motorsports area has grown a lot more in my knowledge. Instead of being just a kid yapping his head off, just talking about cars going fast, I actually have a lot more knowledge involved with the industry, as far as going all the way up from Formula One, almost all the way down to Mazdas, even lower. So my experience goes without grasp, and I'm super ready to show all of you my experiences here tonight at Sebring for the X League.
All right. So as we're preparing to get underway here, things to keep in note. We are going to have what we believe will be a 16 to 17 car field for tonight's event. Comparing last night's Porsche Cup event to today, the race pace is way different. Yesterday, the fastest laps were around the 203s, 204s at best, with 207s being closer to the average. Today, the pace much faster than normal. Pace is closer to about the 158s, which I will go ahead and give some credit to my co-commentators. They actually called what the fastest pace in qualifying would be. Another thing, tire wear is going to be a big issue. Sebring, anyone who knows about it in real-life racing or online racing knows that Sebring is a very aggressive circuit when it comes to tire fall-off. Keep an eye on tire strategy. Last night, the soft tires were able to go about 7, maybe 8 laps if you were really careful. The medium tires could go about 10 to 11 laps. Today, we're expecting the soft tires to only go about 6, maybe 7 laps, and the medium tires to only go about 9, maybe 10 laps today. Keep that in mind. Other things to keep in mind is that there is going to be a lot of opportunity to get on alternate strategies. One interesting thing we saw in the Porsche Cup race last night, under the yellow flag, you still add about 5% of wear to your tires under the slow yellow flag conditions. With that in mind, we may see drivers elect to pit 2 or maybe even 3 times under yellow flag conditions just to try and be on fresher tires. Track position is still important, but some drivers may choose to sacrifice track position to get onto slightly fresher tires under the yellow flag, so be prepared for that in tonight's race as well.
Indeed, and around a track like Sebring itself, tire wear becomes a big play because there are a lot of sectors, especially Sector 3, where you could lose out on a lot of time just because of tire wear alone. And losing those small tenths will lose out on a bigger exit and getting yourself overtaken onto the backstretch leading in the hard right turn. Of course, Sebring is not known to be very easy on drivers mentally wise, so we're going to see how these drivers prepare for a very, very long race.
All right. Before we get too deep into it, let's go ahead and look at the championship standings as they are right now. Your leader in the points is Twilight. He has won the last 2 races from the pole. He has 80 points. Second place is Les Railgun. He has finished second in the last 2 races with 70 points. Third place is Manuel Pedro with 64 points. Fourth is Mays with 63. After that is Cars Matthew in the Ford with 42 points. There is a tie behind them between Little Kid Swab and Tempered Ship. They both have 39 points each. With 30 points is NDL Shadow. Behind him is Dex Kalula. He has 24 points. 21 points goes to Car Rebuilds and another Ferrari. Yokumuku in the Porsche has 20 points at this stage of the season. 19 points for the BMW driver TCPP Photo. Diesel in the Aston has 16 points. 15 points for the BMW driver of Wiza 4. Breezy Rain in the Chevy has 9 points. 5 points right now for Capsule Healer. Arrow in the Porsche has 3 points. 1 point right now for Savage in the championship right now. And as you can see, Dex Twilight starting another race on pole. The expectation for everyone is that Dex Twilight is going to walk off with this race easily if we have no yellow flags, but yellow flag could really upend how the strategies play out tonight.
Indeed. I don't know much about these drivers, but I've heard Twilight is very, very high in respect here, and I believe he's probably going to take the lead. But around the 17-turn track, I mean, curbs are a lot of things. One mistake from him, and it all could be lost. There's not a lot forgiven here. Not a lot of runoff area, and around the airfield, definitely very much challenging. As the driver grid is set, we didn't have time to list it off before the race got underway. It is rolling start, correct, I'd assume?
It's going to be a standing start, and they'll have one lap pace lap, and then the rest of it will be a proper running time. So everyone has one lap to pace, basically. One more topic to talk about. We've mentioned this pretty much every single race thus far this season. On Friday nights, there's the Porsche Cup. On Saturday nights is the GT3 Pro Cup, which is what you're watching right now. The driver, It's Maze, has led at least one lap in all 3 Porsche Cup races thus far this season, and the last 2 GT3 Pro races thus far this season. So Maze right now is trying to go and lead at least one lap in 6 straight events this season. Maze has also pulled out top 5 finishes in every single event that he has ran thus far. That puts him in the lead overall in the Porsche Cup Championship, but he's nowhere near the top of the championships right now in GT3 Pro. But still, keep an eye on Maze trying to further this alternate strategy. And one more thing, as usual, we want to give a quick shout of thanks to XR Monaco for performing pace car duties for tonight's event.
Drivers heading out to the pace lap now. We have a lot of interesting sections to look at during this track as we kind of get through a little bit of a run through. Sector 1 turns out to be a very, very tight, but also quite fast sector. One mistake hitting the dirt could ruin out the time, but hitting it just right gains those extra tenths that we'll see into this long right-hand section leading into Sector 2, where drivers are pretty much flat out. There's a couple lifts if you're side by side, but most of the time you can keep it kind of flat out depending on the tire strategy you're on. Now coming into this heavy braking point, this braking point right here decides a lot with it. One bad exit could lose you out on this kind of long straight, but also at the same time, if you brake way too early, you could get a rear end to the back, and you do not want that at these stages hitting off into the runoff area, which is a lot of grass, not a lot of areas to kind of save your car. Getting into this long section though of Sector 2, we come to another very interesting braking point. Cars throughout the different classes can brake at different points, but the GTs kind of want to stay at the 400 kind of mark a little bit before, just so you don't slide a lot on that rear end due to the bumps on the exit. Coming into this section, which is very complicated to take, a lot of different lines can be shown, but mainly you want to keep as close as you want to that right side of the edge, hitting onto the exit, hitting that bump, coming straight back into the very, very high, fast Sector 3 entrance. Now, of course, drivers like this are going to be hitting up in a 4th gear with a little bit of a lift. Could be going up into 5th gear if drivers take it fast enough with low fuel. But then coming into one of the most interesting but controversial sections in Forza with the track limits. A very hard right-left hand into a right-hand section. This is what we talked about earlier with the kind of tire wear. The tire wear can matter a lot in this sector, and with such a long straight leading after it, that could lead into a very big loss on your exit, as well as having that position loss to drivers behind. And having
one
that
last
kind
thing
of
to remember.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. One last thing to remember. In X League, the penalties that Forza gives out are final. There is no appeal process. Any penalty you earn in the race sticks with you to the end. So you need to be very careful with the track limits as the field is going to start doubling up coming into the final corner. We are about to go green flag here at Sebring.
As here we go into the last turn. This turn's interesting at the GT cars. We'll have to talk about it later, though. The pace car is off. It's time to get racing here at Sebring. The cars are ready. We're coming up to the line, waiting for the green flag for the leader to take off racing. Here we go.
8 rows, 2 cars each row as they come to the start-finish line. Green flag, and we are underway once again. And Manuel Pedro had a fantastic launch that time. Gets the nose just a little bit ahead of Dex Twilight. Side by side, all through the entire field as they fire down in turn number 1. There's a Matthew stuck there in 8th. Agent Diesel is here in 9th as well. And look at the Porsche of Indio Violent. Drivers have been saying all season long the Porsches are completely uncompetitive, but Violent has gone from starting dead last up to 12th already. And yes, half of a lap as they're going through one of the more technical sectors. Very difficult to go side by side through here as you see a BMW and a Ford neck and neck. That would be Tempership and Photo side by side into this right-hander. The Ford runs just a little bit wide, drops tires into the dirt. There are going to be 3 wides that come out of the corner. Around the outside is going to be Indio Violent. Violent's trying to wrap it around the outside. Contact between himself and the BMW. He'll clear them. And now that's Clinical. Tempered Ship, TCPP Photo, all on top of each other as they go to the twisted section. Tempered Ship is going to barely hold station over Clinical for the 11th position. Big slide by Clinical as he stays just barely ahead of Photo. Photo now falls behind the Porsche of Lil Kid Suave. But at the front, it is still Dex Twilight leading Manuel Pedro and Car Rebuilds as they go through the final corner for the first time on their full speed today. Agent Diesel heading out into 10th position, just trying to muscle his way by Indio Violent, and that is going to be Tempership game by Agent Diesel as Diesel misses. The final corner goes way too wide, and he's now going to drop out of the top 10. Everyone gets to turn 1, 2, 3, all the way to turn 17 on the first lap with no catastrophes.
Twilight keeping up ahead though. Pedro starting to make a pace now. We're starting to see a gain there for the Ferrari car. Let's look at that. Twilight dipping a tire off into the dirt, not having such a great exit there. Here comes Pedro. Pedro able to kind of get him and his teammate. Oh, Pedro hits the dirt as well. He spins out a little bit. He's going to lose time there. But those Ferraris are gapping pretty fast onto the straight side section. Here comes Pedro down into that tight turn on the right. Will the Ferrari be able to get up on the back of the bumper? He does, but his teammate looking on the inside, poke a little nose there, trying to get a little bit more of a situation to get the things going. Pedro able to catch up now onto the back straight. Will he be able to get to Twilight? He will not. Twilight gets a little bit more of a gap due to that exit coming out into the sector 3 now. Rebuilds. The teammate of Pedro catching up into sector 2. We're starting to see these drivers really start to settle in, but not a lot of differences in the getting the form on the Deltas. Here comes Twilight. Twilight going into the last turn of sector 2 into sector 3. Pedro on the back end of that car. Will he have the opportunity to make the overtake though? We'll have to see. Pedro going to need to have an absolutely incredible sector 3. Twilight also having an incredible sector 3 though. He goes wide. Pedro dipping it off to the inside, kind of playing with track limits there. Does he get a penalty though? It does not look like it yet. Twilight with a better exit than Pedro, but those Ferraris are extremely quick. Will Pedro be able to make the move? Will he take a look down the inside? He does not. Pedro going out, flinging it out a bit wide, though. Twilight keeping it up. Beautiful race so far this lap between these two, keeping it as close together. Ferrari looking to dive down the inside at some point in this lap. These two are very laps together with lap times. Both drivers setting pretty much the exact same lap time. Last lap, they come into the first turn. This battle for the lead is already shaping up to be insane. Here comes Ferrari. Ferrari looking down the inside into turn number 4. Does Pedro make the move? A little bit of contact.
Big door-to-door contact between the two of them. Number 95 is going to have the inside line in the following corner. And as these two are side by side, it's going to bring Car Rebuilds even closer to the fight. The Aston Martin just barely has the nose ahead of the Ferrari. It's going to be a drag race as they go around this slight bend, this right-hand bend, into one of the heavier braking zones. This is an ideal overtaking opportunity. The 95 Ferrari looks to the outside. Twilight's trying to block. They make a little bit of contact into the braking zone. Twilight goes deep. Manuel Pedro has a nice tight exit. They make contact as they come out. And now they start accelerating now. Pedro is there. Are we going to see for the first time this season a driver complete an overtake on Dex Twilight completely on merit? Twilight is getting a little bit of a shove from Car Rebuild, his teammate. Side by side in the corner, the 95 goes deep, and he does it. Manuel Pedro completes an overtake on Dex Twilight here on the 3rd racing lap of the event. And now Dex Twilight is the meat in a Ferrari breaded sandwich as there's a big contact. Twilight gives Pedro a big shove in the braking zone. Pedro briefly drops the edge of the tire into the dirt. Twilight wraps it around the outside. Neck and neck once again for the top spot between Pedro and Twilight, with Car Rebuilds right behind, ready to try and take the fight to him, but he cannot figure out a way to get 3 wide with these two.
Twilight down into sector 3 now. Gets ahead. Pedro and Car working together as best as they can to get in front of the Twilight car. He surely has the pace, but those Ferraris are just so quick on the straights. He's now with that battling. Everybody else starting to catch up more and more now. we're starting to see the pack kind of get together, but we're also seeing those little snippets into the backpack. People separating. Right now, you're watching this top lead battle for first place. Pedro, Car, Railgun now into the mix as well. Behind is Dex, all looking to catch up to Twilight. Twilight, who's had an insane start to the season. Now's under threat for the first time I've heard of this season of potentially losing out on the first start. Ferrari gets a way better exit at turn one. He once again looks down the inside. Will Pedro have the opportunity to make that overtake once again? Twilight goes down low, defending the inside line. Has a way better exit than him. Pedro tried to make a move, did not get it done. Is now at threat with his teammate. His teammate hits the dirt, almost losing the back in there. Everybody's pretty much bunched up together now. We're starting to see all of these drivers kind of come closer together because of the battling up here into the front. Heading into the heartbreaking point of the right turn. The two Ferraris both looking at each other, trying not to battle each other as much, but eventually it will come up into play which Ferrari is faster. As here comes Twilight, kind of getting a bit of a gap away from Pedro. Pedro having to fend off a little bit from his teammate Kari. Heading into sector 2, right turn, heavy braking. Will he get the road? No, he does not. Kari's going to stay behind his teammate. Maybe try and hold up the cars into the back. We do not know. But Twilight, though, kind of getting a bit of a gap. He slides here a lot, as we noticed. A lot of the drivers starting to slide a lot more. That tire war, just a tire into the dirt, though. Car is going to have a bit of a run now on his teammate. Will he look to make the move coming into the back stretch? Sector 3 time. Here comes Twilight. Twilight already gaining a bit of gap, almost a second already, just off that alone. But Pedro, and now Kari. Looks like Pedro going to try to defend a bit more, but Kari looking down the inside. Will the teammates, will they come together? Will they want them back off? We'll have to see. Kari does lift a bit there. We just saw Kari lift a tiny bit there. Maybe to make sure that he does not hit the back of his teammate. As he goes out wide. Under threat now from Car. Railgun
really stacked up the entire line there behind the two Ferraris, and Mays in 6 says, I've had enough of this. He feels like he's being held up in this fight. He jumps into the pit lane, gets onto an alternate strategy. Another driver is on an alternate strategy that's making something happen. Indyl Violet started dead last. He is the highest driver of everyone who has started on the soft tire compounds. Everyone else started on the mediums, and we have a caution, and by the looks of it, we are under the yellow flag for the first time today. It looks like there may have been an incident with maybe the likes of Quint, Clinical, and Savage. So a multi-car accident, by the looks of it, is going to bring out the first yellow flag of the day here on the 5th racing lap at Sebring. And suddenly, the pit strategy, the yellow flag strategy, all sorts of strategy completely opens way up, and Twilight may be under some serious threat now.
Indeed, now that you have the safety car come out, you're now starting to see the drivers who went in for a pit now are going to catch up very quickly into the top side. One of those being Car. Wait, what happened to Car? I crossed the car down. Oh, there's 2 cars. Just realized there are 2 cars. Guys, don't worry.
Because that's the name of a team. Car is a team. We usually just call them by the name whatever comes afterwards. It's kind of like with Indyl Violet. We just would call them Violet because they're in the Indyl team. Kalula is Kalula. We don't call them Dex.
Got it. One thing I do need to note for your microphone, when you go loud, you get quieter. So whatever you get to your high,
I don't know how to change it. I don't know how the hell to change it. It's an issue I've had for years.
Try talking a little bit calmer when you're going fast. Don't try and get up in your high voice because your mic's not picking it up. There were some points where you generally sounded like my noise gate can't even pick up how less quiet you were.
To be fair, I have also been silent for quite some time as well, so.
Indeed, I don't know how you fix that though. I think it's because you get really loud or really high in your voice. Maybe try and bring the tone of your voice down, and it might pick it up better when you get louder. Because when you got louder there at the first turn, I couldn't hear you for some of the lap because it generally was so quiet on my end. I don't know how the stream's picking it up.
All
right now, leading the safety car, Twilight, following grid order behind Pedro, Railgun, Rebuilds, Killa, Violet, Breezy. I don't know which ones her team's going to or not, but I assume Breezy's not. Manth, I'm not even going to try. Look Kid Savvy, Tempt, TC Photo, Agent Diesel, Maze, Clinical, Quint, Savage, and your current safety car driver, Monaco, leading technically, but Somebody brought that up one time during stream for me. They were like, well, technically the safety car driver is leading the race. Well, no shit, dumbass. Sorry, I don't know if you can cuss, but I just did. That was the first cuss word that y'all have ever heard. Boom.
Indiel Violet, Breezy Rain, Little Kid Suave, Carr Matthews, and TCPP Photo all jumping into the pit this time by. For Violet, this has really been a windfall because he was in the position that those soft tires were about to completely fall off a cliff. But the interesting thing for me is that basically about half of the field is going to still be out here on track on relatively old tires, and then you have Maze, who's going to be in 8th. He's going to have very slightly worn tires, and the 7 drivers ahead will all be on worn-out mediums. So Maze will be interesting to watch trying to race through the field, and then Violet back there in 12th, who will be on nice fresh tires, will also be interesting to watch trying to race through the field.
All right, anything can happen, especially here at Sebring. Bit of a tire update on everybody. I mean, most of the top pack, like you said, is sitting with those softs. They can, relatively, they can go. But you are now starting to look into the fall-off point of the sliding, and we're 7 laps in, and this is about the fall-off point. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing drivers hop into the pits as quickly as they can after the safety cars come out, but some drivers have the pace and the tire save. I completely went blank there for a second. Have the kind of knowledge of tire saving to go those a lot more longer of distance. Looking at the telemetry though right now so far, I mean, top speed wise, we're looking at a difference between the entire field. Twilight up into the 163s is its top speed, but then you have to the Ferraris to 166. That is incredible to see. Because of now you look at kind of a difference between Twilight's now way slower of a top speed, but has the most consistency throughout all sectors. So that kind of just shows very quickly that consistency beats just sheer speed all the time. And the pace that Twilight has is incredible to see. Heading into Sector 3 though, drivers trying to get those tires warm, probably not a lot of scrubbing allowed, especially at Sebring. They don't want to scrub the tires too much and wear them, but they want to keep them warm. Mace being the only one who's really scrubbing to try and get those tires warm enough to have an insane start to maybe jump Agents, Tempt, even Killa off start, which is very much possible.
All right, real quick, 32% is the tire wear on Twilight right now, as opposed Maze, who pitted just as the yellow flag came out, he is only at 7%. And then you look down to Violet, who is in 12th position, highest of everyone who had just pitted. He is only at 5% right now. The pace car is starting to gap the field. We are anticipating we are going to be going green this time by. Our focus is going to be on Manuel Pedro. Can he do anything? And we've lost a driver. Savage has suddenly disconnected and dropped out of the event. And it looks like our yellow flag is going to be extended by 1 extra lap. No one else comes into the pits during this extra lap, but we have lost a driver in the form of Savage.
Some drivers, a little bit of a wreck there into the backpack. Mace is hit as drivers slow down. Mace could have some front end damage there. Do not know. We are still checking that. Big kind of pile up in the back. The drivers thinking that it's faster, have to slow down, heavy brake. And in F1, that is a killer, especially throughout every league. Drivers who want to speed up and slow down. I'd like to call them a word, but I don't know what you could say on the stream, so I'm going to go ahead and not push my luck with the one cuss word. But they are very much poop heads. All right, that's what we're going to say. We're going to call them poop heads. Twilight leading the race.
My stream is set to mature audiences only. You can swear.
Well,
just
them,
like,
then.
don't make it too...
That, yeah.
Just don't make it to where like every 10th word is a swear, please.
I'm a hillbilly now, alright? This is how we're gonna compensate you, alright, you mother?
I will kick you. I will kick you.
Alright, Pedro, Twilight, our battle so far that we've seen throughout this race. These two have been neck and neck with each other. We saw Twilight begin to pull away after Pedro kind of got to his head of the tire were built up. But now the safety car kind of gets a really fresh reset, so we're going to see which driver can handle the tire wear. I think Twilight can. I think that Pedro's pushing into a higher pace to try and catch Twilight. And now the tire wear got up, the pace is starting to fall down for Pedro.
All right, so we're going to prepare to go green on what will be the 8th racing lap, the 9th overall lap of the event. Again, I look at Dex Twilight, look at the tire wear he has got right now. 35% tire wear on his tires. Manuel Pedro, who's second in the Ferraris. The Ferraris have been fast, but they've been bad on their tire wear. 37% on the most worn tires for Pedro. Those are in the rears. For Les Railgun, who is third in the Ford GT, your defending series champion, he's only got 33% tire wear right now. He's doing a good job managing his tire wear. Car Rebuilds is back there in fourth, 36% on his most worn tire right now. Dex Kalula, who is going to be fifth, his most worn tire, 37%. Tempered Ship in sixth, Agent Diesel in seventh, and again, Maze in eighth. He pitted just as the yellow flag came out. He is at 10% tire wear right now, so he has a significant tire advantage to the rest of the field. And then you have NDL Violet in 11th with the biggest balance of tire advantage and track position. He is only at 12% tire wear right now. After 2 laps under yellow, we are anticipating going green this time by.
Here we go. Safety car out of the way. Is he out of the way this lap? We'll have to see. Yeah, safety car out of the way. Here we go, folks. We lost a driver during the safety car. But we got 15 drivers as they are ready to get back racing here. Lap number 9. Drivers starting to hit each other though, getting anticipation, get a bit antsy as here we go, crossing the finish line. Twilight starts off the lap. Pedro with a decent get off, but it looks like Railgun's already threatening him. Pedro with a lot colder tires, with a lot more tire wear. Railgun looking down the inside, already peeking his nose. Twilight already getting a takeoff though up to the starter. See the mid-pack. Maze, Clinic, all those people that stayed and pitted are now moving up. It's a bit of a contact, I'm pretty sure, into the back.
It is chaos in the back of the grid. I'm seeing so much, and there is a Porsche that's going around. That is Logan Suave. He got hit from behind, and Suave, for the 3rd time in 24 hours, is dumped at Sebring, and he falls to last place now.
Here we go, the top leaders into the battle. Pedro makes the dive down the inside. Pedro can't stick the move though. Twilight trying to get the switchback done. Twilight cannot get it finished. Pedro
goes into the lead for the first time. We have a driver that is not Twilight leading, but now Twilight looks to the inside, side by side as Twilight goes deep under braking. He's going to miss the braking zone to try and deny Pedro a shot at the crossover. In the process, that holds both of them up and brings Les Railgun back onto the edge of this fight. Behind Railgun is Rebuilt and Kalula, who is Twilight's teammate in the Aston. They come to this right-hander, and now onto this acceleration. You'll have 2 high-speed, full-throttle, left-hand bends. Pedro has the draft on Twilight, but this is not the ideal place to make an overtake. You want to set up through here for a good run down the back straightaway, and with the sheer straight line speed of the Ferraris, this would be the ideal place for him to make the move. But Twilight is a wily old man. He knows what is going to be the ideal line. He's got a good run coming onto the back straightaway this time by. Railgun is right in Pedro's draft, but the Ford GT does not seem to have the straight line speed necessary to go for a move of the drivers who are pitted.
Back though, Railgun catching up though. Can he make the move down to the inside? He makes a little peek, a little bit of contact between the 2. Railgun moves Pedro out the way, and he gets the move done in the braking of the last turn.
Pedro completely missed the final corner. Pedro completely missed the final corner, gave the entire inside line to Railgun, and Railgun went right by into the 2nd position. Pedro now slips to 3rd, just ahead of his teammate Car Rebuilds. Dex Twilight continues to lead, though. His gap is now about 2/3 of a second over Railgun. That is a dodge that has gone off back there. I think that may have been Clinical. It was Clinical who went off back there. Violet on brand new fresh tires has made his way up to 8th. Maze with the slightly fresh tires hasn't really made any forward progress. He's still stuck in the 7th position, tucked behind Tempered Ship. Again, Chevy versus Ford. This was the fight for the Manufacturers Championship last season. Tempered Ship really trying to defend against Maze. Ship outside, Maze inside as they go into the corner.
Pedro,
and it looks like that's going to go to the Ford for the moment. And now here comes Violet. He's trying to wrap it around the outside. The Chevy's got to run on the Ford side by side for this position, but no, for the moment, it's going to be Tempered Ship who has it over the Chevy.
Right now, looking back at the top pack of the aerial, Railgun almost lost the move down Pedro, but now the 2 teammates are fighting. Both of them catching up as well as Killa. Killa is also into the mix here. Rebuilds, having the opportunity to maybe bump his teammate up. Pedro looked down the inside of Railgun earlier, a little bit of dirt touch right there, as Pedro's going to have a bit of a run. This is probably not the place to make an overtake, but he takes that back. The man of steel and the man of balls. These 2 are about to battle heading into Section 3 now. Rebuilds having to let off a little bit for his teammate, giving Killa the opportunity. Rebuild, looking down the inside of Pedro, though, just not able to get the move. Will the straight line speed of the Ferrari be able to catch up to Raygun? It is not looking like he's going to the opportunity, though.
Yeah, at this point, Dex Twilight has pulled a 1 second gap over Les Railgun. Railgun holds roughly a 4/10 second gap over Manuel Pedro. Pedro, it's kind of hard to tell if Car Rebuilds, his teammate, is pressuring Pedro or if he's just trying to push him. But in either case, it feels like Pedro keeps being handicapped by the presence of his teammate. Car Rebuilds right behind. Kalula runs in 5th. NDL Violet on brand new fresher tires has moved up into the 6th position and just has clean track ahead of him. Violet starting dead last may be a wild card factor for this race win. And remember, when it comes to tire strategy, the ideal, simplest strategy would be to run the first 12 laps on medium tires, run the next 11 laps on medium tires, and run the final 11 laps on medium tires. Are you asking a lot of the tires doing all that? Yes, but we had 3 laps under the yellow flag, which would make it a lot more palpable for a lot of these drivers on the circuit. So Twilight leads on what we believe is the ideal race-winning strategy. His tires are just about to hit the 50% mark, though. He is going to start hemorrhaging time, and he won't be the only one. We're going to see Railgun, Manuel Pedro, and Car Rebuilds start hemorrhaging time, and Violet is going to look like a Jesus figure with how much time he's going to grab in the next lap and a half, I would say.
Pedro still keeping up with Railgun. Rebuilds, however, feels like he's being handicapped, like you said, from Pedro. Not seeing much of a gain, though, is between the two. They're about the same times, but we see Rebuilds make a bit more of a gap in especially Sector 3. But can Pedro, with the tire wear, sends it very deep in there. It makes up a lot of tense there. I feel like that was accidental, but what a save there from the 95 driver. Is he going to be in prime position, though? Beautiful exit. You can see him starting to lose stability there. His teammate now with the opportunity to look down the inside. Will he do it, though, or will he bump his teammate? We'll have to see. Rebuilds. Feels like he's probably been handicapped. He wants probably an opportunity to head after Railgun. Hillen not able to make up the position, though. As here goes Pedro. Pedro flinging it out wide like he usually does, but with a great exit. Down on the bottom. Railgun still keeping it up ahead, though. Teammate of Killa. Now catching up. Rebuilds. Beautiful exit there, but is not able to keep it up on the ass end of his teammate. Pedro, however, not having a good Sector 1. Rebuilds also not having a good Sector 1. We're starting to see the driver's tire wears really start to play a part as the times fluctuate a lot more than what we saw earlier between the two.
One thing to remember as I'm looking at the tire wear through the entire field, Dex Twilight is doing a good job balancing the wear of the tires from the front and the rear. Les Railgun, who is in the 4GT, he is having more wear on the front tires than the rear, but it's not by much. If anything, he is almost perfectly balanced as well. Then you get to the Ferraris of Pedro and Rebuilds. They are burning up their rear tires much faster than their fronts. And then Dex Kalula, who is in the second highest of the Aston Martins, he is burning up his front tires more than the rears. What does that matter? What does that mean? Well, for Twilight and Railgun, who are relatively good at balancing the wear on their tires all the way around, that means that the car is losing pace at a predictable, even manner on corner entry, corner exit, in the straightaways, mid-corner, everywhere. It's perfect. For a driver like Dex Kalula, who is burning up his front tires more than the rear, it's a really simple thing to resolve, but it will cost you time. All you have to do is just back up the corner entry, get on the brakes a little earlier, turn in a little bit earlier, and you kind of negate some of the loss. But for Pedro and Rebuilds in the Ferrari, when your rear tires start falling off faster than the fronts, as we are seeing in the Ferraris, as we have seen the Ferraris for many years, and not just this game, but Forza Motorsport 7 before it, there is nothing you can do. There is no saving. The only thing you can do is try to hope that you can control the car. So as Pedro and Rebuilds have now completely lost touch with Railgun, completely lost touch with Twilight, I feel that while the Ferraris may be just as fast as the Aston and arguably faster than the Ford, the inability of the Ferraris to manage their tire wear is going to kill them as Rebuild completely falls off the circuit. And now we see contact. Yes, it's an Aston Martin who goes around and barely nearly crashes there as both of the Ferraris duck into the pits. Kalula ducks into the pits as well, but Kalula got to the inside of Pedro. They made contact. Kalula was turned about 75 degrees sideways, saved it. That was an accident that somehow didn't happen, and a bunch of drivers all pitted, but Les Railgun has elected to stay out for another lap, and NDL Violet, who pitted under the yellow flag, is now up in second position, and it is no doubt in my mind that Violet is the fastest man on track by a metric margin on circuit.
indeed. I do have to probably dip out here. I have an emergency that I've just been informed of. So I'm going to have to head out. It's pretty early. Sorry about that. But you take care. What a race so far we've seen. Drivers heading to the pit stop. Don't go anywhere, folks. My boy over here is going to get y'all right. Insane. Love commentating with you. Hope to come back at a different time. So sorry about this emergency, but I have to get out of here.
It happens. Good luck. Thank you, Sweet Foam, for jumping in for co-commentary duties. As we turn our focus back onto the circuit, you can see Car Matthews rushing his way by TCPP Photo right now. Les Railgun leads. NDL Violet, though, is second and only 3/4 of a second off. Those fresh tires that Violet has makes him look like an absolute god right now, but he is at 50% wear. He is really burning down the nicotine on board with these softer compound tires. So I imagine Violet's going to pit either at the end of this lap or one lap later. He'll probably have to jump on the mediums to the end, but he is going to have a slight tire life advantage over the rest of the field one way or another. In the Porsche that most drivers have said is completely uncompetitive, well, maybe you just need to get on an alternate strategy and suddenly the Porsche looks competitive as Violet easily is going to outrun Railgun down the back straightaway. And Violet goes from last to first in this event. Absolutely incredible stuff. Mays runs way back here in the third position in the Chevrolet. He is on medium tires, likely going to stay out for a little bit longer. Railgun pits at the end of lap 13, so Railgun is going to have a one-lap advantage over the likes of Dex Twilight. Dex Twilight, after making his pit stop, is in completely clean air. Nobody is around him. This is great news for him. Manuel Pedro is second, just barely ahead of his teammate Car Rebuilds. They're both ahead of Dex Kalula at the moment. The question is going to be, where is Railgun going to end up in relation to these two Ferraris? Railgun already rolling down the pit lane exit as we look at the Ferraris as they're coming down to turn one right now. Can Pedro and Rebuilds jump Twilight by virtue of pitting one lap earlier? That is going to be the question. Twilight already coming to pit lane exit. He is accelerating now, and Twilight is going... This is Twilight I want to look at. Why are we not looking at Twilight? Yes, Railgun is going to be ahead of Pedro, not by much, but Railgun has held station over Manuel Pedro, and both of them are about 3 seconds behind Dex Twilight. So Twilight is the fastest driver on strategy A. Right now, NDL Violet's kind of hanging out on his own strategy. I would call this strategy B2 or 2B. If you like gaming, Violet is likely going to be paying shortly, though, when they will put him onto a modification of Strategy A. And then you have It's Maze, who is running second on what we believe is a set of medium tires. It is looking like he is going to inherit the lead and will lead laps for the 6th straight X-League weekend event this season. An incredible run for him. Car Matthews in third position right now. He also had pitted shortly after Maze. We believe he is on the medium tires as well. Lil Kid Suave runs in 4th position on track, just ahead of Breezy Rain. But Suave is on burnt-out soft tires. He'll have to pit at the end of this lap. Behind him is Breezy Rain in the Chevrolet. He is on what we believe is medium tires. Also, he pitted at the same time as Maze. He gets right into Suave from behind, gives him a shove from behind, but isn't going to push the issue. I think Breezy Rain kind of disposed of all his anger against Suave earlier last night in the Porsche Cup race, and Violet pits out of the lead. So this will make it official as Maze comes down the start-finish line. He will lead in his 6th straight X-League event here. And Violet, where is he going to end up in relation to Les Railgun? That is going to be the other big question, because Violet on this alternate strategy may now seriously be in contention for this, because not only could Violet be in the same group as these lead pack, but he is also going to have 2 laps better tire wear to the end, whatever his strategy is, compared to this group. Railgun trying to hold station over Pedro and Rebuild. I think Twilight has this race won by default. It doesn't matter how bad your strategy is. If you are just so much faster that you are 0.3 a second a lap faster than everyone else, you can be on the worst strategies ever, and it's not going to be an issue. Violet out of pit lane right in the middle of this fight, immediately under threat from Manuel Pedro. Pedro looks to the inside of the Porsche, lunges in, almost a little bit of contact. There's contact, and Pedro goes off. And now Rebuilds lunges ahead of Pedro. And now it will be Rebuilds' time to try and make something happen to the Porsche of Violet. But again, Violet is now going to have a massive tire advantage over these Ferraris going forward. What can the Porsche of Violet do going forward now? He looks at the Ford GT of Les Railgun just ahead. 4 seconds ahead of him is Dex Twilight, who looks like he is on track for an automatic win tonight. What is going on? It looks like we've lost another driver in the form of Agent Diesel. So 2 DNFs at this stage of the event. Violet now right behind Railgun, really hustling it in that Porsche. Gets right into Railgun from behind. Railgun's not going to be happy with that, but Violet, we know the NDL drivers are fast when they join this series. Violet really harassing Railgun now. And coming into the party right now is Agent Diesel. Diesel, can you hear me? Can you include your audio in the Xbox party?
Done.
All right. Diesel, frustrating to see you drop out early. What took you out there?
Just internet connection. I quite literally got the full network, and all of a sudden, kick. I was like, ah, crap. Oh shit, sorry. I shouldn't swear. My bad. I was like, ah.
I don't care. This stream is set to mature audiences. It's not like every 10th word is a swear word. You'll be fine.
Ah, fair enough. Well, yeah. So, internet went kaput. So, my game just said, "Fuck you, you're going away." It was like, oh, okay. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, my race wasn't that productive. I mean, I was kind of taken out by like 3 cars at once. That was weird, but no, it was all right. Pain in the ass, but oh well. I was trying to climb my way back up, but I think in the end I would have probably gone to like 12th, maybe 11th.
All right. Is there anything? What do you think is the ideal strategy to the end of this race? Is it still just run all mediums to the end, or do you think one of these drivers on an alternate strategy like Maze or Violet has a better strategy for here at Sebring?
Oh, well, it depends on how many safety cars we have. I mean, the first one kind of just put everyone out of whack. So I've got a feeling everyone was doing triple medium. But with the first safety car, I've got a feeling that the majority of the field went for softs to try and get as much position as they could. And then when they realized soft wasn't very the advantage of softs wasn't very good in the long game, they pitted early to probably get back onto mediums again. So I'd say probably it would be like a medium, but with more safety cars. I'd say probably it might be like a medium soft, depending on how many safety cars we have. Trying to end that soft.
All right. Diesel, thanks for jumping in and talking with us. It's a shame that we have to talk to you this early while our race is still going on, but it's still nice to hear your opinion anyway.
Well. Thanks for having me, mate.
All right, well, that is the word from Agent Diesel. Sadly, our second DNF of the event, as NDL Violet is still harassing Railgun, and as these drivers are fighting, Dex Twilight in 5th is continuing to pull away on his own strategy. The fight's going to be between Dex Twilight and Maze, as Violet is spending so much time fighting with this Ford GT here. I think that was Car Rebuilds who just slammed the inside wall going into the final corner. No damage, but he's going to lose a bunch of positions, fall behind Pedro and fall behind Killa in the process. And now Railgun's going to be under threat from Manuel Pedro. Railgun runs behind the Porsche for the moment. But I think the big thing is, I think Violet jumped onto soft tires again. I think he is going for sheer pace. He is not caring about strategy at all. I think this number 4 LMP Esports team is throwing caution to the wind. Just hit me softs, hit me softs, hit me softs. He'll probably have to make an entire extra pit stop, but I think Violet is just going for aggression today. And to be fair, he went from last to first, led some laps, and has been passing with no problem. With everyone else being so cautious, tiptoeing on the medium tires, Violet is really on something else today. At the head of the field is still Maze, leading by about 3.5 seconds over Cars Matthew. The big thing is Maze versus Twilight. Twilight is about 20 seconds behind Maze at the moment. Now, we think that Maze might be in a position to jump onto a softer compound tire late in the event. We do not know for sure, but it may be a possibility. But will that be enough to give Maze any kind of shot at Twilight late in the event? In the Aston Martin, Twilight is still hoofing it around in completely clean air. One of only a few drivers in clean air right now, as Violet is finally breaking away from this group. Manuel Pedro has gotten by Railgun finally. Your defending series champion drops tires in the dirt, as does Pedro. You're going to be right on top of each other. This has been kind of a knife fight here amongst these drivers. Real quickly looking a little bit farther down the grid here. This is Clinical in the Dodge Viper back here in 11. He has 27% wear on his tires, so I think he is on a harder tire compound. Is he on the hards outright, actually? He might be on the mediums and having already pitted, but Maze is at 61% right now on his tires, 62% in the rear, so he'll likely be pitting at the end of this lap. So he would go 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. He has to go 16 more laps after this. Oh, big slide by Maze. I think the grip has completely gone away for Maze. So even if Mays has a tire advantage going forward, he's going to lose so much time this lap with those burnt out tires, he won't really be able to pursue it. I imagine with 18 laps left, unless he wants to try and do like 10 laps on the mediums and then 8 laps on the softs. I just don't see that working. It's just not going to look good. This is Dex Twilight, who pitted at the end of lap 12. I look at his tires right now. He is at 29% at the moment. And he has 6 seconds over NDL Violet, who we believe is on soft tires and will be pitting sooner rather than later. He is at 27% tire life right now, trying to run down on Dex Twilight, but he's going to have to pit sooner than Twilight. And now, I think Violet is... Oh, my goodness, 3 wide between Pedro, Kalula, and Railgun in the braking zone, and Pedro just barely ahead, keeping about half the car ahead of the Ford GT, but the Ford GT has a run. Railgun, Pedro, neck and neck, side by side between the two of them. Kalula right behind has a run. So does Car Rebuilds. You can throw a blanket over these cars with how tight they all are. Nearly 3 wide again, but for the moment, Railgun gets ahead of Pedro. Pedro makes contact with Kalula. They're both sideways. Kalula drops tires in the dirt and somehow keeps from breaking the car. He's into the dirt again. Wide again. And that really holds up Car Rebuilds in the process now. Dex Twilight now about 15 seconds out from Maze, and he's about to catch Rebirth Quint in the Dodge, and Rebirth just goes right offline. Isn't even going to try and defend against Twilight. Maze, this strategy has gone absolutely awful. You look at his rear tire wear, he is at 68%, just limping it into the pit lane. Car Matthews going to join him in the pits this time by. I imagine Breezy Rain will be considering pitting this time as well. No, Breezy Rain is going to stay out another lap. 65% wear on the front tire, so Maze is bringing up the fronts more. Breezy is bringing up Maze is bringing up the rears more. Breezy is bringing up the fronts more. This means that Breezy can rest the slow decay in performance a little bit better right now. But now Dex Twilight moves into second position, about 7 seconds out from Breezy Rain, and NDL Violet is going to be well clear of Railgun for now. Railgun is going to be clear of Maze, so will Pedro, Kalula, and Rebuilds. Maze is going to be about 5 seconds behind that group. He'll have a tire life advantage, but it's not going to matter. Look at Mace's gap now to Breezy Rain. His gap to Twilight is going to be something around the tune of 18 to 19 seconds. Now, we have about 16 laps to the end here. 16 laps? Yeah, about 16 laps to the end here. Maze, I'm not really sure what the strategy is. Does he throw on mediums and throw on softs late in a late race pit stop or what? I think without a doubt, Dex Twilight's going to win this race off of default just because he does not have to worry about anyone around him. Everyone else has spent so much time having basically a knife fight amongst each other. That's really not going to matter. Les Railgun hangs out in 4th position. Manuel Pedro runs in 5th. Car Rebuilds is 6th, just barely ahead of Dex Kalula. These guys are about 7 seconds ahead of Maze, who is on nice new fresh tires, but so far behind, I don't think you'll catch them anytime soon. Breezy Rain is your leader. Dex Twilight is about 2.5 seconds out and rapidly closing that gap down. But I think Breezy Rain is just trying to work an alternate strategy to try to salvage positions. Unlike Maze, I think everyone knows that Breezy Rain is not in contention for a race win at all. 70% on both the front and the rear tires in that Chevy for Breezy Rain, but he has stretched this thing out. He'll only have to go about 15 laps to the end here. That is Dex Twilight going by Breezy on the inside with no issue. NDL Violet now holds a 4-second gap over Les Railgun. His tires are at 41% wear right now. Dex Twilight leads once again, and his tires are only at 40% wear on the rear, so Violet is doing a respectable job keeping some pace with Twilight, and his tire fall off hasn't really hurt him yet. It will get to him in a little bit, of that we have no doubt, but Violet is still making some incredible hay right now. Les Railgun is solid in 3rd position as he is starting to pull away from Pedro, as I believe those rear tires are really starting to fall off again for the Ferraris. Already 41% wear on Manuel Pedro. For Car Rebuilds a little bit farther back, who was still trying to keep Kalula behind. His rear tires are at 41% as well. So while it looks like NDL Violet is all but guaranteed a victory here, he is running... I'm sorry, not Violet. Dex Twilight is all but guaranteed a victory here. He is running about 17 seconds ahead of Maze, who is the highest driver on an alternate strategy. Violet is on a radically alternate permutation of that strategy, but I think Violet is just out here having fun, just trying to turn as many laps as he can in clean air and let what happens to him. Yeah, those tires are really burning up on Violet. I think he's just thrown on the softs and is just going for sheer pace. And with that in mind, he'll probably be pitting with about 13, 14 laps to go. That's not likely to be enough for the mediums to go to the end. And if he throws on the softs, he'd still have to make another pit stop. I think Violet is hoping desperately for another yellow to try and salvage something for him today. Also, credit where credit is due, all 14 of our cars who are still running are still on the lead lap. As the field's all kind of spreading out now, just a little bit, although this is still on top of each other. A fight for fifth. Car rebuilt outside. Kalula looks to the inside in the final corner, but could not make it stick. That Ferrari is wide, really wide. Kalula has the inside line, but the Ferrari puts the power down, even with the burning out rear tires, and really opens up the gap down the straight here. 77 closes in on the Ferrari once more now, looks to the inside. Can't get alongside, though, through turn 1. Through that little bend that is turn 2 and now into turn 3, which is the second real braking zone on the circuit. Nothing big here. Now a bunch of left, right corners before a bit of a straight. It's a curved straight for the first half, and then it really straightens out into this heavy braking zone, one of the most critical overtaking opportunities on the circuit. But I think Kalula is a little bit too far back to do anything to rebuild this time by. Little Kid Suave and Breezy Rain are back to having a fight of their own now. Breezy Rain is in the Chevrolet, 11% wear on his tires, but that is Little Kid Suave in the Porsche on his inside. Remember, these two don't like each other. I think Suave jumped onto the soft tires again. He ran down Breezy Rain, but he's going to have to pit again sooner rather than later. I turn to look at Dex Twilight, your leader, once again. If you can go 11 laps on the tires, then Twilight will want to pit with about lap 23, at the end of lap 23. I look at the fuel, he's got 9% in the fuel tank, he's got 49% on the tires. His fuel and tires are going to be a little bit tight, but I think he'll be able to make it, and he is well clear of Violet, and I don't think Maze, who is in 7th, is close enough to be a serious threat to Twilight either. I look at Violet here, limping around. His tires are at 58%. He's almost out of fuel as well. He'll have to pit at the end of this lap, so he'll pit at the end of lap 23, I imagine, and could probably, well, lap 22 he'll pit. He'll have to throw on mediums and limp to the end, or throw on softs again and hope that some yellows come to salvage his run. Big slide there by Violet. The handling has completely gone away in that Porsche, but he's opened up such a massive gap over the Ford of Les Railgun, it may not matter. Les Railgun, mind you, pitted 1 lap later than Twilight, so he has got a slight advantage, but the thing is, he is 9 seconds behind Twilight right now, and I don't know if he's going to have anything for Twilight as this is going. Pedro has fallen about 1.5 seconds off from Railgun as his rear tires continue to give up on him. The Ferraris are so much faster with the new BOP, but it does not change the fact that they have no life in the rear tires for them. Great on single lap, great on multiple lap runs, but the deeper you go into the runs, the tires fall off. The Ferraris just completely fall over as Rebuilds is now under threat from Kalula. Big door-to-door contact, and Rebuilds says, hey, look, that was no good. He backs off and lets Kalula have the position now. Les Railgun still 9 seconds out from Dex Twilight at the moment. No one has anything for Twilight at the head of this field. 54% wear on the rear tires. That is very suboptimal, though, for Twilight. That's really going to compromise his run here. He's at 5% fuel. Now less than that, about 5%. Big liftoff there in the straights. So Dex Twilight might be trying to save a bit of fuel now. He may have underfueled the car when he pitted earlier. He's at 4% now as he comes to the start-finish line. That should be enough to get into the end. Violet now pits out second position With about 12 laps left, he'll not be the only one. Car Rebuilds also has to pit out of 6. He's saying, I can't handle this anymore. The tires are too far gone. You look at that, but we can't see what his tire wear is, sadly. But looking at Manuel Pedro, who runs in 3rd, who is in the other Ferrari, he is at 58% on the rear tires, and this lap is going to be an absolute nightmare for him. Railgun is now suddenly closing down a bit on Dex Twilight. He's hanging out at the 9-second range and starting to close the gap down a little bit. And Railgun's been really good at bouncing tire wear front to back. He's only at 49% wear right now. Twilight, your leader, his tires are currently at 58% wear on the rears. He is at 2.5% in the fuel. Will he be able to make it to the end with the fuel that he has? Maze is back there in 5th position. He is now within 17 seconds of Twilight. And Twilight's going to have to be careful managing his tires and fuel here. He is at 2.1% right now. Railgun, 8.8 seconds out from Twilight, now 8.7. Maze, 16.3 out. The gap is closing slowly. 1.4% left in the fuel tank for our leading Aston Martin. Now 1.3%, 1.2%. He has hit 60% wear on the rear tires. Railgun now within 8.5 seconds. Railgun is closing the gap, but he is not closing it by a significant enough amount. And Twilight, as he comes onto the back straightaway, 0.6% fuel, 0.5. He will be able to make it to the pits. He might be chugging on fumes, but he will make it into the pits. 0.5, he gets off big time in the middle of the straightaway there again, just to ensure that he can make it into the pits. Railgun took off about a full second that lap, but he is 9 seconds, now 8 seconds behind Twilight. That's not going to be enough for Railgun. So Twilight ducks into the pits, and Railgun, your defending series champion, just has nothing that he can do. He has 1 lap better tires than Twilight. He's only at 53% tire wear right now. Probably be close to 60 by the end of this lap. Manuel Pedro pits this time. Dex Kalula also pits this time. We'll also see Maze likely jump up into the 2nd position. Remember, Maze is on an alternate strategy all on his own right now. How big is the gap going to be between Twilight and Railgun? Matthews is now going to move up into 3rd. He is on his own alternate strategy in the Ford as well, trying to replicate what Railgun is doing. Twilight, 19 seconds, closer to 20 seconds out, and he is slow, and he's going to be caught by Breezy Rain at TCPP Photo. All of a sudden, Twilight's in the middle of a fight. He was not anticipating this. He's been in clean air most of the day, and all of a sudden, he has to deal with controversy and fighting late in the run suddenly. So now Twilight has to figure out a way by the Chevy of Breezy Rain, and Breezy pitted not too long ago either. I mean, his tires aren't going to last to the end, but his tires aren't in an awful position right now. He can keep, or at least attempt to keep, Dex Twilight behind for a little bit. And for his teammate Maze, this will be a good thing. Twilight 21 seconds out of the lead of Les Railgun right now, and we anticipate that Railgun will be pitting at the end of this lap, and will throw on medium tires that will have almost no fall off to the end here. There's no way that he can go another lap and go to the softs to the end. I just don't see that happening. Maze runs in 2nd position. He's only at 48% wear on the tires. He might be able to throw on softs late to try and make a bonsai run, but I think he's going to be too far behind Dex Twilight when he does that and won't have any shot at the win. Twilight might not really push it too much. He may be content in just letting the race come back to him. He has opened up a big gap on Railgun and Maze. Those are his 2 biggest rivals. Well, he had about an 8-second gap on Railgun when he finally pitted, and on Maze he had about a 17-second gap. And Railgun will have better tires, but not massively better, and Maze is going to have massively better tires, but he's going to be so far behind on track. Photo is paying out of the 6th position. Breezy Rain stays out another lap, and Twilight really not pushing it to run down on Breezy Rain. Little Kid Suave also paying back there from 8th as well now. After pitting, Manuel Pedro has ended up behind Kalula and his teammate Car Rebuilds as well. And Indiel Violet runs now in 6th position. Is he on softs or mediums? He's got 50% in the fuel tank, only 12% wear. If Violet's on the mediums, it's going to be rough, but he's going to try and limp the car home to what will hopefully, I imagine, be a respectful result after starting last, rushing up through the field, leading a bunch of laps. Les Railgun stayed out on track for another circuit. Is he going to try and throw on softs late in the event, I wonder? He's at 3% in the fuel, so he'll make the fuel last to the end. He's at 62% wear on the tires. He is hemorrhaging time right now to Maze and to an extent to Twilight as well, although Twilight is still stuck behind Breezy Rain, not really making great forward progress. But I think Railgun, maybe he's going to try something wild and throw on some soft tires late. And now let's look at penalties. We've not talked about penalties all day long. What are the penalties looking like? Railgun, no time penalties. Twilight, no time penalties. Maze, only 0.6 time penalties. Violet, 1.9 seconds. Kalula, 4.1 seconds of time penalties. Suave, 2.2 seconds. Clinical, 1.7. Rebirth Quint, 1.3. Matthews, 0.5. Breezy Rain, 0.7. A lot of other drivers have no time penalties right now, so great job on their parts. Railgun pitting this time by, so Maze will go into the lead once again here at Sebring. We believe he is going to try and pit as late as possible so he can throw on some soft tires for a bonsai run to the end. If he pits at the end of 26, it would be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That would be an 8-lapper on the softs. He needs to stay out for this lap and one more lap, I think, to make the softs anything close to being seriously viable. I just don't see that being an option for him. He lost so much time last time he did that. So Dex Twilight in 4th. Les Railgun runs in 5th. He has not yet come out of the pits, though. He's going to lose a position of Violet now. So Violet is going to clear him. So will Car Rebuilds. But he will still be ahead of Manuel Pedro by the looks of it, who's actually fallen back into fighting with Kalula. But mind you, Rebuilds pitted a little earlier than everyone else around him. So Rebuilds is going to be in an awful tire position to the end of this race. And Twilight is now 14.7 seconds out from the lead of Maze. So he is rapidly closing down on Maze. Breezy Rain in 3rd also is actually closing down on Maze, but Breezy Rain will have to pit again, likely around the same point that Maze does, if not a lap later, and Breezy will have softer tires as well. So I think Maze and Breezy will throw on the softs late and just try a bonsai run up the field here with their soft tires, pick up any positions that they can. Interestingly enough, Cars Matthew in the Ford GT in 2nd also is still out here on these burnt out tires. He could definitely throw on softs and go to the end, and the Fords have been really good at managing their tire wear. So Car Matthews may still have something to the end here. Likely not for the win, obviously, but he could give Maze a bit of a headache on the run to the end. There'll be 8 laps to go when the leaders hit the line. Does Maze or Car Matthews elect to pit this time by? Yes, Maze pits this time by, and so will Cars Matthews. So Car Matthews about 3.5 seconds out from Maze, but we assume both these drivers will be on the soft tires to the end, and we assume that Car Matthews is going to have a massive tire life advantage to the end as well. What of Breezy Rain, who is in 3rd? Does he stay out another lap? He does, and that will mean that Breezy Rain is also going to lead a lap in today's event. And when Breezy Rain pits, we believe it will be at the end of the lap. He can throw on the soft tires and easily go to the end with no issue whatsoever. So he's likely going to be one of, if not the fastest driver at the end here. But Dex Twilight is now in 2nd. Not really hoofing it, not really pushing it. He knows he has the fuel and the tires to go. Well, he should have the fuel. He knows he has the tires to go to the end. He's just managing the gaps right now to the end of this race. The fights are farther down. Les Railgun staying ahead of Manuel Pedro by a pretty solid margin. Pedro at clear of Kalula. Maze is going to come out pit lane about 1.5 seconds behind that fight, so he's going to have a massive tire life advantage over both Kalula and Pedro. Might have something for rebuilds farther up the road. I don't know if he'll have time to catch Les Railgun, though. Again, we don't really know for sure what tire compound Railgun is going to be on to the end. We think mediums would be ideal, but he may have jumped on softs out of desperation. Who knows? Pedro still has Kalula just behind him. And Twilight has just about caught Breezy Rain on circuit. So again, Breezy Rain hemorrhaging time, but Breezy knows that he is not in contention for the race win. Somehow, out of all of this, NDL Violet has ended up 3rd on track. Now his tires, what do they look like? He is at 26% wear right now. He's got car rebuilds behind him in the Ferrari. His tires are at 40% wear though. Rebuilds is in an awful position right now with about 7 laps left. Violet, while he has been caught by rebuilds, might still be able to keep rebuilds behind. Violet could still be on track for a podium run in that Porsche. And Breezy Rain finally pits out of the lead, and we know that he'll throw on the sauce. He's going to be way behind on track, but he will have no tire fall off to the end here. We're going to focus on car rebuilds for a lap as we have to take a Twitch main data ad break. We'll be back momentarily here at Sebring. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Sebring. Car rebuilds, dumping off of his old worn out soft tires and gives away a shot at the podium to jump onto the softs with about 6 laps left. It is Railgun and Violet fighting for second position right now. And Railgun, I think, is going to have the number of the Porsche. He is only at 25% tire wear right now. I look at Violet, who we just passed. Violet trying to limp home on an alternate strategy. He is at 34% tire wear, but he has a pretty big gap over Manuel Pedro, who is back here in 4th. And Pedro is being harassed by Maze right now. Pedro is at 29% on the rear tires right now, being harassed big time by Maze, who we believe is on a softer compound tire to the end here. So Maze might still have a podium in play if he can get by Pedro and maybe run down Violet. It's going to be a big if. We don't really know how it's going to play out, but now Maze to the inside of Pedro. Pedro trying to cross him over on exit. Nothing he can do. The Chevy's just so much quicker right now. He's by. Tempered Ship runs last on track, but still pretty far ahead of the rest of the field. Not sure what's going on there. But it looks like as long as he doesn't have to pit again, I think he'll be good to finish on the lead lap still. Still watching this fight here between Maze and Pedro, but I think Maze has pretty much disposed of Pedro at this stage of the event. The question is, will Pedro get caught by Kalula, and will Kalula have anything for Pedro near the end? Railgun has now pulled away from Violet. The question is going to be Violet versus Maze. It's about a 5-second gap in Violet's favor. And when it comes to penalties between the two of them, Violet has 1.9 seconds, Maze has 0.6 seconds. So Violet still needs to finish about 1.3 seconds ahead of Maze in order to make a podium stick in the Porsche that is constantly lauded as being completely uncompetitive. Maze, on an alternate strategy, might be able to snatch a podium result out of it. But there's still a lot of race left as Pedro has a big slide there behind Maze. Maze continues to try and run down on Railgun. Gap between Twilight and Railgun is about 10 seconds right now. Railgun has tires that are about 2 laps fresher than Twilight to the end here. Twilight, 34% wear on his tires with 5 laps left. Railgun, who runs in second position, only 34%. Wait, what? 34% for Railgun. Excuse me? 34% for Railgun. For Twilight, 35%. Railgun pitted 2 laps later. I guess Railgun put on the soft compound tire, and it's not going to work. He is not closing on Twilight by any metric, so Railgun on the soft tire is slower than Dex on the medium tire. So Twilight's going to walk off with an easy win because Railgun is barely holding even now, and those tires are only going to get worse for Railgun as this goes on. Unless there's a late race yellow, and even then, Railgun would be so cooked on tire life, he'd still have to pit anyway. Violet in third. He knows the race win is out of contention, but I don't know if he is aware of Railgun's tire issues. But again, Violet's at 42% in his own right on tires. So if you think Railgun is in a rough position on tires, at 38%, Violet's in a much worse position right now. Now the advantage will swing back to Violet, but the gap is about 3.5 seconds in Railgun's favor. I don't think there'll be enough time for Violet to catch Railgun. I think Railgun can just limp the car around and maybe still salvage a second. The fight's going to be for third. Maze is still barreling down on Violet. The gap between them is a little less than 4 seconds. And it's only going to get better in Maze's favor, I'd imagine. The other driver keep an eye on is way back here in 8th is Breezy Rain. We know that he is not going to be dealing with any tire falloff. The thing is, though, he is 8 seconds out from Carl Matthews. He has to hope that Matthews in this Ford is going to have some tire fall off. He is also on softer compound tires to the end here. He is closing in on Dex Kalula and Manuel Pedro ahead of him. Railgun's now about 9.5 seconds out from Dex Twilight right now. 16% in the fuel tank, but there's like 3.5 laps left. Is that going to work? Is Twilight going to run himself out of fuel? Nah, there's no way. There's no way Twilight runs himself out of fuel. Well, Twilight might be iffy on fuel. Railgun does not have the tires. Violet does not have the tires. Maze has the tires, but is 16 seconds back. Our podium results might not be as solid looking as we thought. Maze is 3.5 seconds behind Violet and continuing to close the gap down. But the thing is, when Maze catches Violet, his tires are going to be cooked. But Violet's tires are going to be just as cooked, if not more cooked. This is looking weird. Twilight is at 14.8% fuel. Well, it doesn't look like he's saving. It looks like he's running a normal line. Might be a little bit conservative on the brakes, maybe. But he's still mashing full throttle by the looks of it. 13.5% at the line. I mean, you do the math. If he's only burning 4.5% of fuel in the lap, he'll be fine. But if he's burning more than that, he will be cooked. Railgun is starting to close the gap down now between himself and Twilight, but not enough to really do anything. Twilight, even if he is close on fuel, has plenty of gap to manage to second place. He can afford to burn a lot of track position to salvage fuel to the end here. Kalula and Matthews now on top of each other. Ford versus Aston Martin. It's not for the win, but we still have a Ford catching an Aston here for what is 6th place on track. That is Tempered Chip, who's going a lap down right now. Or has gone a lap down right now. Will be the first driver, and likely the only driver to go a lap down in today's event. So Matthews has caught Kalula. Can he do anything in Kalula? As I look at Kalula, what is his tires looking like? He is at 46% right now with 3 laps left. It cars Matthews, who we believe is on a softer compound tire, 45%. So the softs are going to really be feeling bad on this last lap. Maze is about 3 seconds behind Violet. He is still catching Violet, but not at the rate he was anticipating. But again, it's only getting worse for Violet, and it's only getting worse for Maze. It's just getting worse for everyone at the end. 52, 53% wear for Violet right now. I look at Maze, who is in fourth. 47%. He still has the advantage there. Lula trying to keep Matthews behind for 6th position right now. Railgun now within 9 seconds of your leader, Dex Twilight. And when Twilight hits the start-finish line, it will be 2 laps to go. Nose to tail, and now look at this. Matthews lunges to the inside of the Aston Martin. A little bit of contact. The 77 goes off deep into the dirt. He slides, continues to slide. We've not seen a car slide that wide at Sebring for a long time, and Matthews is through. Twilight, 2 laps left. How much fuel does he have left? 9%. I think Twilight will make it to the end on fuel. It will be tight, but Twilight should have just enough fuel to make it to the end, and even if he doesn't, he has 8.5 seconds to burn on Les Railgun. Maze now within 2.1 seconds of Violet. Remember, if Maze is within 1.3 seconds of Violet, he will nip a Violet for that podium position. And the tires have not yet fallen off the cliff for Maze. He is definitely feeling some fall off now, 51%, but he is still better off than Violet, who we believe is on the medium tires, and he is at 57%. Gap now about 1.8 seconds between Violet and Maze with less than 2 laps to go, so the fight for a last step on the podium still very much alive. Kalula has nipped Cars Matthew. His focus will be on Pedro, but Pedro is up here in 5th position, well clear of him. His tires are at 53%, but I think Pedro will be fine. He'll have enough gap. They won't have to be worrying about catching. Wait, Kalula get by Matthews? I guess Matthews may have moved off circuit to let Kalula get the position back. Said, hey, that's no bueno. But in the process, that might bring Breezy Rain and the Chevy here into the fray. He has no worry about tire fall off. He's got nice sauce and can try and run these guys ahead of him down maybe. So keep an eye on that. 1.3 seconds is the gap that Maze has to be to Violet. Guess what? He's now cracked the 1.3 second mark. Maze continues to barrel down on Violet. He might be on for another podium result. Railgun has now fallen to about 9.2 seconds out from Twilight. I think that Railgun has had a complete tire fail. Yeah, 64%. This is going to be awful for Railgun, but he has about 7 seconds on Violet. He can afford to burn the time. That's Tempered Ship, his teammate there. He lets go on the inside. White flag, final lap around. Final check on Twilight for his fuel numbers. 4%. It'll be tight, but he'll be able to bring the car home with basically fumes, but he has more than enough time to burn. So Twilight will come home here with 3 races in a row, all won from the pole. Little Kid Suave back here, 79% tires. I don't know what kind of thing Suave is going for. He should feel lucky that he is so far ahead of Twilight. He'll likely not go a lap down here. Meanwhile, Maze has caught Violet. This is the fight for 3rd position. Violet seeing a shot at the podium slipping away just because of time penalties. Maze is dealing with some bad tire fall-off, but so is Violet. But Maze doesn't have to pass Violet. Just being right on top of Violet will be enough to sneak it from him on the back of time penalties. Violet holding on to 3rd, 63%. Even if the momentum suddenly swings back in Violet's favor, Maze is still close enough to still get Violet on time penalties. The Porsche is wide. The Chevy is still right there looking on the outside. You don't want to go on the outside through if you can help it, but Maze doesn't care. He goes for it, puts the car on the curbs, goes deep into the corner. Is that the move for 3rd? It is! Violet completely misses the corner, and Maze goes into 3rd. And Violet slips back to 4th. Maze too far back to do anything to Railgun. It looks like Pedro was going to be in a good enough position to salvage 5th. But, same song, 3rd verse. It is going to be Dex Twilight starts on the pole and wins with a gigantic gap over the rest of the field here at Sebring. Even alternate strategies and wild tire wear does nothing to slow his momentum. Les Railgun coming out of the final corner here. His tires are at 70%, 73%, but he'll bring it home for 2nd without too much issue. 3rd place is going to come home here to It's Maze, and India Violet will come from last on an alternate strategy, lead a bunch of laps, and come home with a respectable 4th. Manuel Pedro will come home in 5th. 6th place will go to Cars Matthew. 7th to Breezy Rain. Eighth looks like it will go to Car Rebuilds, who is on soft tires but could not make anything of it at the end. Oh no, 8th goes to Kalula, sorry. 8th goes to Kalula. 9th goes to Cars Rebuilt. 10th will go to CLN Clinical. 11th looks like it will go to TCPP Photo in the lone BMW entry. Rebirth Quint in the last of the Dodges. Looks like he'll come home in 12th. 13th will go to Little Kid Suave, who is limping around on tires that are at 94% wear. At this point, he's just running on treads. Is he going to wreck in the final corner, actually? 95% tires. 96% tires as he comes to the finish, but he is going to finish 13th, and Tempered Chip, a lap down, will be credited in 14th. We're going to take a Twitch mandated ad break, and when we come back, we'll try to get some interviews done with our top finishers here at Sebring. All right, we're under a Twitch ad break right now. Just give me a second here. All right, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Violet. Yeah, okay, awesome. Are you able to include your audio in the party?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. I'm going to wait just a little bit longer here. So this ad break is over, and then I'll do this here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Sebring. Our race is over, and it has been quite an interesting one. I want to talk with the guy who I think earns Driver of the Day performance, NDL Violet. Violet, welcome to the party. You started dead last. You were on a strategy island all on your own. Despite that, you led a bunch of laps and were fighting for a podium. In the end, you came home fourth in a car that everyone says is completely uncompetitive in this series. How in the world did you make any of that happen?
Dude, I don't even know where to start. Like, completely forgot the race was today. I thought this week was the off week. Itachi, the manager of Porsche, just dropped me an at in the Discord like 4 minutes before the race started. Hopped in the lobby, last week's tune. The first stint, I don't even know how to describe what that race was. It was just silly business. I was just passing everybody. Everyone was just being dumb. Like, Rebirth sent like an absolute banzai on like 4 people at turn 2 on like the second lap. Killed multiple individuals. Don't know what that was about. But managed to get through, like, at that point I was like 12th or something. First safety came out, the safety came out. Chucked on some softs. I think everyone else went medium or something, because I was schmoovin'. I was absolutely going. Managed to get stuck behind, like, Maze, who was in, like, P4 or 5 or something at that point in time. Made a bit of a dumb strategy call. Put on softs again. When everyone else was on medium. I think, for the second stint, for the... what would have been the second stint. Yeah, that was a really fun race. I had an entire lap side by side with Railgun. Don't know if you got that on the stream, but
We got part of that one on stream, yeah.
It's going on TikTok. It is a clip for the ages. I got like 2 this week of entire laps side by side at this track. So I think I'm in the Sebring. I think I've got Sebring locked, I'm not gonna lie to you.
All right. Interesting run to say the least. Came home fourth. Do you think there was? I know you said that you felt that jumping on the softs again was a bad call, but I'm gonna be honest. I think all those laps you turned on the soft tires gave you some incredible track position, and no one else was really in a position to deal with the massive track position you had until the very end there. I personally think that was a very strong call for you.
It worked until I don't know what was going on with Twilight, but I was gaining like 2/10 a lap at most on him once I got to P2, and then he stayed out, like, he pit before me and pit after me, and my tyres were done, so not sure if Porsche bad or Aston good for tyre wear, but yeah,
To
it
be
was
fair,
it was
Dex
hard.
Twilight has been doing that the entire season. Remember, back at Hockenheim, he started on the pole, got wrecked lap 1, turn 1, with no yellow flag. He went from dead last 21st to leading in 10 laps. So Twilight just seems to be that guy this season.
Yeah, it can happen really easily in this league if you have like the right kind of racecraft. I think it's what I would describe it as. Like, I don't know what it is about this individual group of people, but you gotta race them like differently. Like, it's very much about maintaining momentum because they will go side by side in what is normal corners, what is sometimes questionable corners, and I think when you see that, just letting off a little bit on the entry, lining up the exit a bit, and getting the momentum works really, really well against a lot of the guys in here, and yeah, the Porsche is remarkably decent at that. We were still having decent top speed, so yeah, it worked for me in the end. Don't know how.
All right, any
DFL
last things you want to say, Violet, before we let you go? Also, Railgun, we finally hear you. Congrats. Yeah. Violet, anything else you want to say before we let you go for the night?
That was a lot of fun. Nerf the Aston. Thank you.
All right, please go ahead and step out of the party just so hopefully Xbox parties don't crash. But thanks for talking with us, Violet. Arguably driver of the day performance. Another driver who I think deserves a driver of the day performance call, but not quite as good as Violet, is Maze. Maze, go ahead, include your audio. You got into an alternate strategy as early as possible. That worked out fantastic for you. 6 straight races that you have led laps, and another podium result. What do you have to say about your run out there?
All in all, pretty good. I was talking to you yesterday, told you exactly what I was going to do, and I did it. So we got the safety car, and I just went straight on to mediums again and extended so I could go soft at the end. And it played out for me. I didn't really have too much of a dirty race. It was pretty clean most of the race, and caught Violet at the end there and kind of sent it a little bit, but I mean, I could tell he was probably either on, I think he said he was on mediums, right? So I think, or maybe he was on softs, I don't know, but his tire wear was definitely a little worse.
He was on mediums, but his tire wear was the same as yours on the start of the final lap.
Yeah, so I don't know, I had a lot of fun, even for those couple corners, just duking it out with him a little bit. I was going to try my best to possibly catch Rail, but got held up a little bit and just didn't work out for me. But all in all, I'm obviously thrilled. Like I said all the time, top 5s are solid for me, so I'll take it.
All right. It was a fantastic drive, to say the least, Maze. I really want to talk about this run, though. 6 straight races between Porsche Cup and GT3 Pro, and you're leading laps in all of them. You're the only driver to do so. Obviously, you're on alternate strategies, but I cannot stress enough, this is incredibly rare. Most of the time when I see drivers doing that, it's because they're like 2-3 seconds a lap faster than everyone else. That's not the case, Maze. I'm not saying you're uncompetitive, but a lot of your results are coming off of strategy wildcards. It's not like you're just demolishing everyone on pace. How much longer do you think you can keep this streak up of leading laps?
I don't know. It's kind of like you said. I mean, it's basically just a strategy thing. I know I'm not the slowest. I know I'm not the fastest. So you know, when you lack in one area, you got to make up for it in another. So I just really do a lot of testing and kind of thinking about every possible situation on like, well, if this happens, what could I do that would be different? And if I was in this situation, like even something as small as like the safety car comes out right after pit road instead of right before it, right? I don't get the chance to just dive in right quick and kind of undercut everyone and get a little more track position like I was able to do today. So yeah, you just kind of have to make up for where you lack. I don't necessarily think I'm slow, but I'm not Twilight. So yeah, I'm happy that I'm able to do what I've done so far, and I'll continue to try my best. Maybe so. Maybe I'll get some more laps led. But at the end of the day, the final position is what matters, and I'm happy with top fives all day long. So.
All right. Before we let you go, Maze, I know you're one of the drivers who work on balancing the cars. Maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing, how you feel this race played out. But one thing is true. 5 different manufacturers finishing in the top 5 positions. So at the bare minimum, at least the parity seems to be somewhat good near the end of these races. So good job on that as well.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. I'm constantly looking at stuff and replying to people if they have any questions or looking into things if there's any concerns. So there's probably going to be a little bit of a slight change for the balancing on this off week. So we kind of wanted to gather like 3 races and see what the data said before we did anything. So yeah, just be on the lookout for that, and I appreciate your thanks.
All right, that's the word from our 3rd place finisher, Maze. And now I want to talk with our 2nd place finisher, Les Railgun. Railgun, another podium, but again, not there for the win, not even close at the end. Go ahead and include your audio, Railgun. What do you have to say about your run out there today?
It was as I expected. Was expecting the Ford to be kind of slow on the exits, and that's exactly what happened. But I could still pull it off because of 2nd place, because of the tire wear. Kind of helped me out there, but it's still a little bit down on pace, the Ford. But yeah, good results. P2, that's good.
I do want to ask, that yellow flag came out really early in the event. You were one of the drivers who didn't pit under that yellow. Was there any thought that you would pit under that lap 6 yellow? Or was it just, no, you were locked in, you were committed to your strategy, not worried at all?
No, it actually helped. That yellow flag actually helped save a little bit more tires to make the medium soft strat work as it did. So I could stretch it out to lap 13, and I think it was lap 13 or 14, I don't remember, and then do 12. No, it was, yeah, I did lap 13 and then 12 and pitted at lap 25 for softs, and it worked. Otherwise, if there was no yellow flag, we probably would have switched to like plan A, the original medium. But we could do medium softs because of that yellow safety car.
Well, it was a pretty fantastic run. I will say, near the end of the race, we saw you and your teammate Tempered Ship kind of going back and forth a few times. Was that planned? Were you just having fun? Or what happened there between you two?
No, you mean at the end?
Yeah, near the end over the last few laps.
Yeah, he was a back marker, so he kind of wanted to give me a little bit of toll, like slipstream. But then I don't know, that was a little bit of miscommunication or something like it. I told him to pass because he was kind of air washing me a little bit, and a little miscommunication happened there, and then he didn't pass when I asked, and then when I asked for tow, he thought that there was still one more lap for me. So he went by, like he as soon as he passed me, he was gone. But he was supposed to just wait a little bit for me. But yeah, it was kind of planned, but not planned at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
I get that completely. Anything else you want to say before we go ahead and wrap up the broadcast for the night?
I don't know. Just take a look into a little bit more into, I don't know, just a little bit, dive a little bit deeper on the VOPs so they get the cars like a bit more right on pace with each other. But yeah, what I'm also expecting is that no pit line violation happens, because there's no pit lines in this track. No pit entry lines, no pit exit lines. So I just hope that pit exit and entry don't get enforced in this track specifically, which it makes sense.
Well, I imagine pit exit, there won't be any enforcement. Pit entry might be a little bit different. There are definitely some drivers taking a concerning line in the pit lane, but I'm not the series host. I can't say anything one way or another. But yeah, mate, Railgun, another great run out there. Another interesting run as well. It wasn't just, oh, I was la-di-da all by myself. You put on an interesting show out there. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us again at the end of one of these races.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, with that in mind, I'll pretty much wrap up our broadcast here from Sebring. It has been a very interesting weekend, from a anarchy, crazy, elbows out, knife fight Porsche Cup race last night to a prolonged strategy focus event tonight in the GT3 event. There was something for everyone that the X League brought today. But we're not done. Remember, tomorrow we will still have FEC's Summer IndyCar event on their first oval of the season. I hope you join us for that. Until next time, I've been your host for today's broadcast, Insane Leader 13. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Farewell and goodbye, everyone.